Off the bar, I'm too persistent. Whip income, no cast. Get it on my own, no collab. Hey, yo, people, man, we're telling them, blood. This is where my line Njies in the building. I just did top 50 tracks of 2022. Now here we are at top 10 albums. Let's get into it, people. Once again, let me show the fit, blood. You know, I said denim and them thing. Yeah, that's what I'm like. Hey, let's get into this, man, before I fall over and book up myself, man. You know. Alright, so people, man, you know what I said? This one, I'm gassed for this one right here. I can't even lie to you. I'm gassed for this one. First thing, before we get into anything, once again, I gotta say shout out to Sean C. He's the one that gave me this idea. You guys already know I do my top 10 tracks of the month and that, bro. But I never thought to do like a top 50, top 10. But I saw him do it in this channel. I saw him do it in like 2021 and everything. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this as well. At number 10. You got man like Lloyd Banks, The Cost of the Inevitable 2. Now, this is his back-to-back album. He dropped one in 21, he dropped one again in 22. And this right here, all I can say is the essence, man. The essence of hip-hop right here. It just brought back that kind of like underground kind of feeling and that. Like, this album right here was, this was for the guys. Like, if you put this around the girl, them and that, they're not gonna feel it unless they're like a proper hip-hop head or an old head type of thing. Then they'll probably, you know what I'm saying, maybe if your auntie, you know what I'm saying, grew up in that era like my auntie did and that, bro. She used to break dance back in the day and them thing there. She used to spit bars and everything, but like she's a hip hop head. If I played this album, I know she'd appreciate it, but this ain't just for the faint hearted right here, blood. You gotta love the game to like this one right here, fam. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the beat, just that grit that he brought and them thing there, the raspiness to his voice and them thing there, you know what I'm saying? Like that old school feeling that with an updated modern day kind of thing, because he had a couple of songs in there that were a bit more jumpy, a bit more to the time and that, but realistically it was just a dark grim beat, that Mobb Deep type beats and them thing there, fam, you know what I'm saying? And him just going off. And then the people that he brought on was Creme de la Creme, Conway the Machine, but Benny the Butcher, Jay the Kiss, bro, you know, that respect type of thing. And literally when he dropped his album last year, you saw people come out of the woodworks like Legends, Busta Rhymes and that, fam, like, yo, congrats on the album, da-da-da. This year, same exact thing, fam, you know what I'm saying? So you know it's a slapper. Now with this one right here, this person dropped an album in 2021, they also dropped an album in 2022. If I did a top 10 albums of 2021, this would have been top 3. I can't tell you exactly which position, but it would have been top 3 because the album right there, the content in it was absolute just vast and that, from topic to topic, situation to situation, concentrating on the culture, the community and them thing, and every single line actually had meaning to it. And also the production as well. The production was like, it took you through a time lapse of like each genre. Like last year's version of this person, the album that they dropped, it gave me James Brown vibes, it gave me Lauryn Hill vibes, it gave me Kanye West vibes, it gave me old school hip hop vibes, it gave me jazzy vibes. Like it's like it took you through a time lapse of time, bro, you know what I'm saying? Like the genres that were hit, blood, the production, bro, the eye to detail, bro, in terms of production, bars, all of that was ridiculous, bro, you know what I'm saying? This year's version, I would say last year's version is better, but obviously this year's version still had to be good to be on this list, and that's Little SIMZ, No Thank You, bro, you know what I'm saying? I feel like this was more of a, I did the mad thing last year, I'm still gonna show you, man, the quality, but I don't need to go as hard type of thing, fam, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that wasn't what she was thinking, but that's kind of like how I see it. Like she didn't need to go as hard, you know what I mean? Because if she did a back-to-back thing on the same level, blood, probably greatest artist of the generation, because in terms of production, Little SIMZ in the UK definitely has it. She brings a certain type of sound that you will not see from absolutely anyone else, and that's why it's refreshing to the ears. There's another artist on here as well that kind of brings a certain sound to the game that you don't really hear as well, you know what I mean? And that's why it's like these people are integral to the scene, and like she's bar for bar, I wouldn't say she can go up with the maddest of people, but like I said, there's different ways to format a bar. It doesn't need to be a double entendre, a mad metaphor, simile, blood. Her thing is content filled, fam, you know what I'm saying? And you could say that she kind of bars because it's like she drops off gems and drops off knowledge, or artists like her drops off gems and knowledge in a one line to where it sounds like a double entendre or a simile or a mad metaphor, fam, you know what I'm saying? So like I always say, a bar can hit in different ways and you can format it in different ways, and Little SIMZ does that. In terms of production as well, her eye to detail, is truly one of the best in the game, and I cannot even lie to you. Her use of things like the choirs and that, letting the beat breathe in between songs and them thing there, or in the middle of a song, letting the beat ride out and them thing there, letting the choir take percussion or take main stage and that, then she'll come in and just the little things and the little details. She's too cold. I can't even lie to you. 2021 is probably the best album that she dropped and my favorite of all time from her, bruv. But No Thank You was another colossal track, and there was bops on there as well, man. You know what I'm saying? At number 8, blood, we got Metro fucking Boomin, nigga. You know? Booming, nigga. You know what I'm saying, blood? Superheroes and villains. This came out at the end of the year, like December 4th, 2022. Listen, this was ridiculous. This Little SIMZ and this album right here, I didn't know what to put where, but the fact is that on this album, you can't say, oh, Little SIMZ had better production, because Metro Boomin does his thing right, blood. He does his thing right. So one, you can't say that. Whether you say which one's better, that's up to you, but you cannot say production's lacking, because Metro Boomin comes with it, blood. He literally has Boomin in his name, blood. Like, come on now. His beats are obviously going to be epic. And in terms of, he's a producer, so the amount of artists that is going to bring onto the thing is going to be a mazzoline. So him versus Little SIMZ, it's not him versus Little SIMZ, it's like Little SIMZ versus like 8 or 10 other artists, but Don Toliver went brazy on this one. You know what I'm saying? Travis Scott as well, which was not necessarily a surprise, but not someone that I listened to that much on, like, in terms of the artists on this list, I'll probably say I listened to him kind of the least, but he did his thing on this one. Him and Don Toliver, I don't know who's at number 1, but they both went brazy. As you know, on my top 50, I had Future Superhero, which is a colossal track, and this, the first 2 tracks on this one, fam, is probably my favorite on any album. Like, probably my favorite 2 tracks, or my favorite 2 starting tracks on any album of all time. Now at number 7, if you man remember with man like Little SIMZ's album, I said she brings a certain type of production that you don't really hear. This person as well, they do the exact same, and that's man like KOJEY Radical with Reasons to Smile.
Yeah, 247, 365. I ain't done living, I'ma need more time. Wait, switch it. Had a couple problems, gotta flip it.
I think my mama was a gangster. I think my daddy was a Rolling Stone.
Tell the devil keep away from me.
Yeah, feed my soul and fix a plate for me.
Had to roll up the sleeves so the drip drop better. Even in gridlock, don't shit stop. Anytime I spent at my lowest was just a pit stop.
Now KOJEY Radical, he brings me back to that funky James Brown era that I was talking about, and that sound that you don't really hear. That sound, he brings one of them sounds to the game that if you want to hear that kind of sound, hear it in its golden era, or hear other songs that are near to it, you have to go back to the olden days, bro. And them kind of genres, I guess it's good at the same time, bro, because it holds its stability. It's not getting saturated. People aren't trying to clone it and do different things to it and change, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like one of them untouched artifacts that kind of holds its value, bruv. So when people like KOJEY Radical come into the thing and start to do kind of like tracks like this, bruv, I'm like, yo, this is absolutely cold. His style, bruv, his choice of production, fam, you know what I'm saying? His uniqueness, the voice as well, but and the way he raps, fam, you know what I'm saying? He can hit you with a mad flow, but it's kind of like he's talking to you. It's kind of, I'll kind of say his thing is more so kind of borderline poetry. No, I'll actually say it's a mix. It's like rap and poetry mixed together, and you have KOJEY Radical. I'm sorry if that was kind of loud, but that's the kind of vibe that I get from him in terms of the way he raps, and then his sound as well. That's why payback as well.
Payback, the big payback. Dark on both sides, the dress code black.
One of my favorites, man. One of my favorites, man. You know what I'm saying? Now this one was special, man. This one was special. I feel like this one solidified this person's name in the game. He had an absolute colossal year. When I tell you this guy dominated the world, he's like top 3 artists this year, without a doubt, fam. He had that world in his palm like this, and he was just like spinning it and playing with it and them thing there, fam. He had the world on lock, bro. Country to country, black people, white people, Asian people, listen, brown people, purple people, pink people, everyone was spinning this guy's tracks throughout the year, and that's Burna Boy with Love Damini, man.
We don't cast, last, now everybody go to breakfast.
Glide tip timbani at you. Come on, why don't you finish soon? Baby, travailler, make you know they shall like it. As I did not take my do, start to move like you smoke a lagoon.
What's all the higgy hagger? When I come with a yinky yanka, and my jacket was shining like Bianca.
This guy had an absolute colossal year, man. Had a colossal year, and he showed it as well in terms of this album right here. This album right here showed me that this guy can sing. It showed me his versatility. It showed me the fact that he can do it in Nigeria, bring the sound over, do it in America, bring the sound over, take it to the UK and that, fam, you know what I'm saying? And the content of his bars can be galley filled. It can be just fun and just, you know what I'm saying, just careless and that. It can have meaning, and he cares about the culture. He cares about the country. He cares about that continent over there. The country Nigeria, the continent Africa, he cares about it. And that's what I love right there. There's a multitude of artists repping Africa right now, and I love it. Because it's not like, oh, we're Nigerian, you man stay over there, we're Ghanaian, you man stay. Nah, it's just an African thing, man. And I love that. And the people wherever in Africa are embracing each other and collaborating and them things, and I love to see it, man. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully Gambia blood, which is where I'm from, and one of my countries and them thing, I'm half Jamaican, half Gambian. Hopefully I can see my country at them heights one day, man. You know what I'm saying? Because we're building, you know what I mean? But yeah, this album, it showed me that this guy can sing. It showed me his artistry levels. Like I knew this guy could sing and hold a vocal, but from the time you're stripping away all effects and that, you go in a cappella on the ting.
I got it all, but I still got my anger.
The styles, bruv, are vast with this guy right here. He's able to do a multitude of things, man. He can take it old school and he can take it new school. He can do the English and he can do the Nigerian. He can do the rapping and he can also do the singing. He can do the mainstream and he can also take it to the culture and create an absolute vibe. Bruv, Last was a ridiculous track. I don't think people actually know. People do realize, because it catered to every single demographic. Do you know how hard that is? Now this person right here, I would say is underappreciated, not underrated. You gotta use them words correctly, because there's certain people that you would say, or certain artists that you will see and say, oh yeah, he's underrated, but then you'll hear him on a song and they're like, yo, I'm not underrated, my family's calm, the KOJEY Radical said it. I've really not be saying it sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta notice who's underappreciated and who's underrated, and this person right here is underappreciated because he gets the numbers, he got the recognition at one point, but this album for me, it wasn't talked about enough, man. I can't even lie to you, and that's NAFE SMALLZ with Legacy.
Duffel with my Gucci sweater, will you keep it secret what we do together? Tell me. Walk by that Bentley with elegant, smoking on medicine.
My whole life was fucking walk, I gotta tuck it. From nothing to something, I know they it made me.
Walk by that lime and some new baguettes. She gon' believe I'm living my life as a movie set. Spaceship, Syria, skating glaciers. I used to sleep on the floor.
He was in my top 5 artists of the year. His songs, which was which one was it? It was NAFE SMALLZ and Lil TJ, Elegance and them thing there. That was my top stream song of the year, bro. This guy is a gem in the scene. I cannot even lie to you. He's a gem in the scene, man. Just his, once again, his attention to detail, his placement, bro, the way he toys with his flows, you know what I'm saying? The fact that he's able to do the melodic thing and also the rapping thing as well. The beats that he chooses, bro, his beat selection. His beat selection, like I said, him with Lil TJ, Elegance, Dimensions of a Waterfall, bruv, like his beat selection is very integral to his sound and that, bruv, you know what I mean? And I feel like I don't feel like my favorite genre is UK trap wave, but every single year, my favorite genre is UK trap wave, man. Like, in terms of the artists that are in my top 5, the songs that are in my top 5, you know what I mean? Like, HUNDHO was in my top 5 this year, NAFE SMALLZ and D-Block Europe. That's all trap wave, my guy. So obviously that is my favorite genre, whether everyone will admit it or not, because my favorite type of vibes is mellow vibes, and these men just embody that perfectly, man. You know what I'm saying? And D-Block Europe, they're not on this list, I'm not even gonna lie to you, but I feel like the previous albums held more weight than this year's. There were still ridiculous tracks. There was tracks that were in my top 50 my top 50 songs of 2022, but just as a like hole in that, nah, it wasn't holding as much weight as previous albums type of thing, so that's why they went in here. But NAFE SMALLZ, shout out your thing, fam. The guy's absolutely ridiculous. His tracks have been, bruv, throughout the year, blood, on repeat, a multitude of tracks on the album, and that, the Dimensions of a Waterfall, Elegance, Rose, Sand to the Beach, Off the Rip and them thing there, fam. It was ridiculous, fam. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting a call though. Let's go on to number 5, I think. Now my number 4, this one obviously has to be in here. This one obviously had to be in here. We got man like K-Trap with The Last Whip 2, man. Now this guy, for me, artist of the year for a fact. Every single tune this guy was dropping in terms of singles were bringing the scene to a standstill. The work rate with the joints, with him and Blade Brown. Then he dropped his own tape and that, like the work, bruv, he was just in our face throughout the year. Like when I say artist of the year, I'm talking about the whole world, bruv. Personally, more than what do you call it, Burna Boy, more than Heady One, more than Central C even. I feel like for me it's just a music thing. I feel like I listen to K-Trap's music more than Central C, that's why. But I feel like K-Trap was just in people's faces. Obviously, with man like Burna Boy, he had Last, he had The World and Absolute Luck and that, bruv, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like he had like 2 tunes that I would say went absolute mazziling, and he had a good year, 100%. But K-Trap, it was just single after single, tape after tip, two tips with 2. That's what I'm saying. The work rate, he would, bro, from pretty much the start of the year to the end of the year, he was in our faces, and he did not rest up from the freestyles as well. Like this guy went absolutely crazy. And I feel like as a body of work though, as an album, there are better albums out there this year, 100%. But in terms of just artist of the year, that's him. But in terms of albums, I feel like he definitely deserves where he is right now, fam. You know what I'm saying? Spoil, absolutely brazy. The One remix, blood, you know what I mean? Busy, which was one of my favorites and wasn't talked about enough. I can't even lie to you. Extra Sleeve and that, but like, bro, it was just banger after banger. Interlude, bro, you know what I'm saying? Where he made the track for the galley them and them thing there. The tracks, certain tracks, I can't even remember the exact names, but he went on the thing with a couple of singers as well, fam. Like, bruv, he did the thing right, man. He did the thing right, fam. Shout out to man like K-Trap, blood, artist of the year. But in terms of album of the year, I feel like, yeah, there's better albums out there, 1000%. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to him 1000 times. Then at number 3, we got a G right here, man. Someone I rate very highly as a musician, as a human being even, bruv. You know what I'm saying? We got man like RIMZEE with Cold Feet, fam. This album right here was colossal, man.
Used to be staircases and alleyways. Now it's big faces and one-ways.
You know me, I stick with a metal, I'm like a magnet. Step with a rare and another one, DJ Khaled. Ever see me on Frog and a Glide, that's 2 trainers. You know a nigga aim head high, Mr. Vegas, swim the chicks love, man. Want me to slap her with my gun hand. Ever go up close and a gun jam.
One day would you love me in these roars, in these streets?
For the coolers on the wing mopping floors, but if I can't be in the airs, then you don't love me no more.
You know what I'm saying? With each album on this list, you guys already know I do a top 10 of each month and that. But at the end of every month, I do a top 10 songs of each month and that. And from each album, there's just been song after song after song on my top 10 with K-Trap, with RIMZEE as well. But like song after song after song, I've been featuring on my top 10s and that. And this guy right here, blood, the mindset this guy had from coming out of jail to doing what he's been doing in the music game, you know what I'm saying, in terms of acquiring assets and them thing, they're big assets, businesses, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I rate this guy on a different level, man. And his music is that kind of music that just gets you in the mood to just do a mazzoline. Like if you want to go to the gym, listen to RIMZEE, you're smashing it, blood. You want to record some videos on YouTube, listen to RIMZEE, you're smashing it. You want to go pull 10,000 gal, but listen to RIMZEE, you're doing it, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? He puts you in that zone, and his selection of artists on this track was ridiculous. He had he had a multitude of singers. He had, I think, someone called O'Neal. He had someone else on there that I can't remember. He had Maverick Sabre, legend in this thing. He had man like Tiggs the Author. Like, his selection of artists, bruv, was perfect, fam. The quality that he was talking about, he had the crud in there, he had the knowledge in there, blood, he had the asset talk in there, blood, you know what I'm saying, he had the trap talk and that, blood, you know what I mean, he had the wisdom in there, blood. Like, everything that he needed was in this album right here, man, you know what I'm saying. And I've, bruv, spinning it since it came out throughout the year. There's a multitude of songs in a multitude of playlists and that, man. So shout out RIMZEE 1000 times. He did an absolute mazzoline on this one. Like I said, for this one, it was the artist selection, it was the vibe and the mood that he puts you in them thing there, from, you know what I'm saying. And he even had gigs on here as well. The man had Tiggs the Author and gigs on one tune, bro. You know how mad that is, fam. Well, I can't even lie to you, bro. If I was this artist, I would feel a bit disrespected. Like, I would feel a bit disrespected, man. You know what I'm saying? Because no one is mentioning this album right here. And to be honest, I don't get it. I don't get it. Our number 2 people we got the one and only, the trap wave god, HUNDHO, with Chasing Euphoria. Now, this album, in terms of instrumentation, the live percussion that he used was absolutely ridiculous. That's one of the standout things on this album, was the live percussion, man.
Got Brioni suits in the closet with the mob ties. Should I leave the mask behind and settle for the mob life? But I wanna laugh one day, I wanna go on walks with my kids and my wife one day.
If this guy goes on tour and does this whole album with a live band, it is going to go off. The vibes that it hit, blood, 38 with D-Block Europe, blood.
My wife a 10 out of 10, her father should've asked for a meal for the dowry. Change up my money to bricks and some water. Whip up a brick and I whip with some water.
Trap wave, fun track, flows, an absolute mad thing, blood. Sincerely, dad and that, blood. Him taking himself into his like father stage and them thing that.
Hiya Naya, it's your dad. You ain't born yet, but you're part of the plan. If anybody troubles you, I'll get my gun. I know bust shots at a dad under sun.
Basically writing a letter to his daughter and that, fam, just pouring his heart out on a track. His track with Pot of Paper, Me and My Conscience, bruv. In terms of artisticness, artistry and artism, it was a ridiculous track. Him talking in the point of view of himself and also the mask. Pot of Paper was the mask, he was himself, and just that contradiction. Should I take off the mask, should I leave it on, and that? What has this piece of material actually done for me? You know what I'm saying? What should I do? This conflict of interest between him and himself, like, you're not like, bruv, the vibes that were hit, blood, and just throughout the album was taking you on a journey, man. There was fun tracks, there was introspective tracks, there were tracks that made you think, tracks that made you just, you know what I'm saying, tracks that could, I don't know, make some people cry even, fam. You know what I'm saying? Like, the vibes that were hit on this album and the artistry levels from HUNDHO was ridiculous.
That is two sides to the penny. Heads I'm spilling Henny, tails I'm killing every.
If we're talking patience on the NHS, whoa, I was in the barracks waiting like the SAS, whoa.
Because I feel like it was a thing where what could he actually do to actually like top his other albums, and he did it, man. That kind of came away from that trap wavy kind of sound in terms of instrumentation in some tracks, but still kept it with his voice. So he changed kind of like the production and that, but he kind of stayed the same. So you're still getting that authenticity, but you're getting a different vibe at the same time. Like, bro, this album was ridiculous, fam. Melodicity, tranquility, blood, you know, like pure vibes, man. I don't know why people are not mentioning this. The Champions League of everything, basically Chucky Online, Lippy, Margs, Mimi the music blogger, and Taser Black as well, bruv. Like, I didn't see this album there, I was like, what? How, fam? Like, bruv, people disrespect this one, maybe because it was the start of the year or something, blood, and people just forgot about it, I don't know. But this album was absolutely ridiculous, man. Shout out HUNDHO with Chasing Euphoria 1,000 times. That's my number 2. And my number 1, we're going across the pond with it. My number 1, we're going across the pond with it. It's man like JID, The Forever Story, man.
I got this shit you would light with a lighter. Fuck a lighter, I can light on the stove. Dark at night, I drop a log in the fire. In the danger, niggas been in danger, been indentured. Now my niggas got business ventures. I was a kid when my brother went in. Now you little brother the man. I spin a block for my brother and him. I did a lot for my brother and him.
Now this one was called The Forever Story, but personally this should have been called The Last of Us, man. Because this, like that Lloyd Banks album, it just brought back the essence of hip-hop, man. Like, it brought back the essence of hip-hop on a global scale. Like, shout out Denzel Curry as well, man, you know what I'm saying? Because I know he had a very big album as well, but I didn't listen to it. That's the thing, I didn't listen to it. There's better albums that I just had to listen to and them thing there that just kept on piling up, and I didn't listen to that Denzel Curry one. But shout out to just hip-hop, because I feel like it's making a comeback. Let me not even say it made a comeback, it was just at the forefront this year, man. Like, anytime anyone was having a conversation on YouTube, on Twitter, on any type of social media platform, like Denzel Curry and JID were getting mentioned and that, and I just love to see it, man. Because like, the reason why this should have been called The Last of Us is because like, hip-hop's not dead, man. Like, bruv, just the purity of hip-hop was brought back to life with this album right here, man. And the people that he acquired as well, it was people that embodied hip-hop and also the modern day as well. Your 21 Savages, you know what I'm saying, your Little Dirks, but then you had people on here like Earth Gang and that, blood, you know what I'm saying, like Kenny Mason, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just embodied hip-hop, blood, from the beats and that, bruv. It just showed an appreciation to the genre again, man, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it wasn't just choosing what do you call it, choosing a beat for the sake of TikTok or for the sake of it blowing up. Like, it concentrated the samples in the thing and that, bruv, you know what I'm saying? The utilization of samples, bruv, you know what I mean, throughout the track and them thing there, bruv, you know what I mean? Like, the album was cold, man. Also the different vibes that were hit, blood, with things like Brother Them, with man like Lil Durk and that, bruv, you know what I mean? Like, just the fact that he was even able to you can kind of tell that JID can actually kind of sing, like I'll say hold a note. I won't say he can full out sing. I'll say he can hold a note type of thing. And that's what was called like the different styles. Like there was things like Radar where it's like the beat was energetic. There was things like Brother Them where the beat was mellow, but no matter what it was, he gave you bars, he gave you introspectiveness, he gave you content filled blood, you know what I'm saying, ish and that bruv. And the way he formulates his thing, he has a very unique and distinct voice in that blood, you know what I mean? And the way he puts things in that blood, you know what I'm saying, is just too cold, man. You had the cud in there, you had the funny bars, blood, or the witty bars and that, bruv, you know, it's like you can tell he's a hip hop head and he thinks about what he's doing type of thing, bruv, you know what I mean? And then even with incorporating people like Little Durk and 21 Savage, he still kept the essence and still was able to brought them in. Like I said, the use of samples, the utilization of this beat doesn't have to be one thing throughout, blood. You can change it into multiple things. So during my part, he's gonna have a little bit of this. Then, alright, say less, 21 Savage is coming on. Alright, let the beat hit a little harder and that fun for him and them to be like, you know what I'm saying? Just that attention to detail. And that's why this one had to be here, man. You know what I'm saying? The artistry levels were on 10-10. Because in terms of artistry, not many things can beat the HUNDHO thing, man. I can't even lie to you. Because the guy can sing on a different level, blood, you know what I'm saying? And in terms of, it's not even just his voice or just the way he raps, just the way he sings in general, bruv. He can bring a multitude of different styles and not many people can top it, bruv. But this album right here, blood, yeah, man. Yeah. It was definitely it. And I'm sure if you go onto YouTube and type in top 10 albums of the year, best albums of the year, this one's gonna be in there. If you type in best songs of the year, songs on this album are gonna be in there, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, shout out man like JID 1,000 times. Hopefully man enjoyed this one. That was my top 10, bruv. Lloyd Banks, Little SIMZ, Metro Boomin, KOJEY, Radical, Burna Boy, NAFE, SMALLZ, KTRAP, RIMZEE, HUNDHO and JID all had colossal albums, man. And I'll catch you on the next one. It's your boy Njies, and I'm out of here, man.